This is a story called Gluskabi and Wind Eagle, and it comes from the Abenaki Indians. So once upon a time, there was a young Indian brave by the name of Gluskabi, and he lived by the great water with his grandmother Woodchuck. And his favorite thing was to go out in his canoe and hunt ducks. On this particular morning, it seemed pretty still and ripe to go out and do some duck hunting. And he brought his drum with him because he always would sing a song when he went out duck hunting. And he got in his canoe and began paddling and singing his song. Kiowa jane yo ho e ho, Kiowa jane, Kiowa jane. And then a big wind came up and whoosh, blew him back to shore. Well, Gluskabi said, I'm going to go out and hunt these ducks. And so he got back in his canoe and he got a bigger paddle so that he could paddle even harder. And he went out onto the water. Kiowa jane yo ho e ho, Kiowa jane, Kiowa jane. And the wind came up even stronger and whoosh, blew him back to shore. Well, Gluskabi knew that he needed to find out what was going on with that wind, so he went to see Grandmother Woodchuck. But there was a stick in front of her door, which meant not to be disturbed. Well, Gluskabi moved the stick away and went into her hut, and she was in the process of doing all these beads, and she spilled beads all over the ground. And Grandmother Woodchuck said, Gluskabi, whatever do you want? You knew the stick was there in front of my door, and yet you came in. And Gluskabi said, Grandmother Woodchuck, I need to know where the wind's coming from. It's blowing so strong that I can't even go out in my canoe and hunt ducks. Woodchuck, she said, I will tell you where the wind is coming from, but I don't know if this is a good thing. She said, Gluskabi, Wind Eagle is on a peak way over yonder, and he moves his wings up and down to stir the winds across the land to keep our land healthy. And Gluskabi said, thank you, Grandmother Woodchuck. And he ran out the door, and he ran across the fields and through the meadows until he got to the forest. And he ran through the forest until he got to the beginning of the mountains. And he climbed up the mountains higher and higher. And the higher he got, the more the wind was blowing. The wind was blowing so strong that it blew the shirt off his body. The wind was blowing so strong as he got higher and higher that it blew his pants off. Oh my goodness. It was blowing so strong that it even blew his moccasins off. And it was climbing up over these boulders. He could see that the top was not far away. And the wind was blowing so strong that it blew all of his hair off, even his eyebrows. And he could see the tips of Wind Eagle's wings going up and down. And he cried out with all his might, Grandfather! And the wings stopped. And the Wind Eagle said, Grandson? And Gluskabi went up and saw Wind Eagle. Said, yes, it is me, your grandson. I came up to see how you were blowing of the wind. And the Wind Eagle says, I am here all the time, blowing the wind. And Gluskabi had a thought, and he looked at another peak and he said, Wind Eagle, you could even blow stronger if I were to take you over to that other peak. And Wind Eagle said, that would work. And Gluskabi said, I'll be right back. And Gluskabi ran down the hill, and he found the basswood tree, and he stripped the bark off the basswood tree, and he wove it together to make a strap. And when he got back to Wind Eagle, he wrapped it around Wind Eagle, covering his wings so he could not fly. And Gluskabi picked him up and carried him as though he was carrying him to the other peak. And then when he got to a crevasse, he dropped Wind Eagle down the crevasse. And Wind Eagle could not do anything. He could not get out because his wings were all tied. And Gluskabi walked down from that mountain, through the forest, through the plains and the valleys, and back home. And then he got some more clothes, and his hair was beginning to grow again, and he went out in his canoe to hunt ducks again. But it was very, very still, and it smelled very, very bad on that big water, and the water was brown, and there was foam on top of it, and he went out a little ways, and it was very putrid. It smelled very, very bad, and he brought his canoe back in, and he went to Grandmother Woodchuck's again. There was a stick in front of her door, and he moved it aside and walked in, and she was in the process of putting yarn on her loom. And Gluskabi said, "Grandmother Woodchuck!" And she said, "Gluskabi, I was counting my threads, and now I've lost count. What is it that you want?" And he said, "Grandmother Woodchuck, the big water, it's all brown, and there's foam on top, and it smells horrid, and there's no ducks." And Grandmother Woodchuck said, "When we have no wind, the water gets polluted. We need the wind to move the waves, to get the water to purify itself." And Gluskabi said, "Oh, thank you, Grandmother Woodchuck." And out he ran. He ran out the wall. He ran out of her hut and in through the fields and back to the mountain. He climbed the mountain, and this time he had all of his hair and all of his clothes. And when he got to that crevasse, he went down and he pulled Wind Eagle out. And Wind Eagle was so grateful. "And who are you?" He said, "I am Gluskabi, and I'm glad to rescue you because we need the wind." And he unhooked the strap from around Wind Eagle, and Gluskabi got him back to his own peak, and he began flapping his wings. And Gluskabi said, "Will you do me a little favor?" And Wind Eagle says, "What is that?" "Some days can you blow all you want, and then other days just blow a little?" And Wind Eagle said, "Yes, Gluskabi, I will do anything for you. You rescued me." And Gluskabi went back down the mountain to the great water. And to this day, sometimes the wind blows very strongly, and it cleans the water, and it cleans the land. And sometimes it blows just very gently, and we can all enjoy our time outside, and Gluskabi can get in his canoe and hunt for ducks and sing his song. Kiowa Janae, yo ho, eh ho, Kiowa Janae, Kiowa Janae.